Good evening. Tonight, the world is responding to the collective cry for help from the central Philippines, where we're hearing now as many as 10,000 lives were swept away under what may be the most violent typhoon to ever make landfall. The U.S. military tonight has joined the massive operation to bring relief to coastal towns that have simply been wiped from the map, others buried under fields of barely recognizable debris. The power is out, water and food in short supply, and bodies remain to be recovered. Officials say close to 500,000 people have been displaced tonight. All many can do is pray for those they've lost and pray for relief. Our team is in place to cover it all. We begin in Tacloban, Philippines, with correspondent Angus Walker.
Good evening, Lester. I'm standing in part of what remains of Tacloban Airport, and tonight families are forced to take refuge in the wreckage. There are dead bodies, crudely covered, still lying in the streets, not far from where I'm standing. The death toll now feared to be around 10,000. This amateur video, obtained by Filipino broadcaster ABS-CBN, shows the moment of impact. A wall of water 20 feet high by some accounts, crashing into Tacloban, leaving the city of 220,000 in ruins. Storm chaser Jim Eds rode out the storm in a hotel in Tacloban. He captured these images during the height of the deluge.
The wind was coming at me, and it was just really eerie because it would pick up and gush. It got so strong and burst that you couldn't stand up. Probably most people that I saw got in trouble with the storm surge. The combination of the wind and water coming at you was just too much.
With winds of 150 miles an hour, Typhoon Haiyan knocked out communications and destroyed 70 to 80% of structures in Leyte province, and nearly all in Tacloban. Food and water are in short supply, and residents cover their noses to avert the smell of bodies. This pregnant woman, Jenny de la Cruz, lost 11 members of her family when the waters rose. She says, right now, all we can do is survive the day, but I don't know what will happen tomorrow or the day after that. Today, the president of the Philippines toured the city.
But we are addressing first the needs of those who are still living, especially those who are injured, the need for food and the need for water.
Tacloban's airport was badly damaged by raging floodwaters. Now hundreds wait there, desperate to leave. The young and the frail allowed to go first. Holita Cao is 63. She barely survived. Her family didn't.
My husband, Yoshikawa, was lost, and my son.
She only has what she stands in. Security now a concern with TV footage showing widespread looting. One official calling on the government to declare martial law. At this hour, a massive relief operation is underway as the situation grows ever more desperate. The runway here is still intact, and the Air Force are flying in and out during daylight hours, beginning to rescue the many thousands who are desperate to leave. This is fast becoming a major international humanitarian airlift. Lester.
Angus Walker tonight. We want to hear more now from one of the people you just saw, Jim Eds, a storm chaser who was documenting the typhoon as it came ashore from a hotel. Here's how he described it in his own words.
It started to come in as the sun came up, and so I went out there with my camera and soon realized that it was just whiteout conditions. So I went right to the edge where the water was hitting these shacks. You know, it was going up there and gouging them, and some stuff would peel off every now and then, and the wind really picked up. And so I jumped in the pool because I figured I'd be safer in the pool than out there in the open. After a while, I started to get out of the pool because it started picking up even more, and it just kept blowing and blowing and blowing. It didn't let up for, it seemed like hours. I told people at the resort, the locals, I said, this is a really bad storm. You need to get out of here. There's a church. It's about 3 feet above sea level, and it was a stone's throw from the water. They had a bunch of kids in there. There's a lot of people that got in trouble on the coastline. They need water, and they need it quick. They need food.
As you hear from Jim Edge, there is a tremendous need for relief supplies, and at least some are coming in from a military airport in Cebu province. Our chief medical editor, Dr. Nancy Snyderman, was there today and saw both hope and frustration.
It is the tale of two cities on one tarmac in Cebu, Philippines. At one end, a C-130 cargo plane is being loaded with rice, canned food, and water, destined for Tacloban and those who survived the typhoon. Awaiting human cargo on the other end, a commercial airline taking those who got out to Manila.
Did you have family behind in Tacloban?
Yes. Walang airport, walang signal, walang tubig, walang pagkain. Ngayon, ubos na. Magagawa nga namin, may mga naiwasan kasi yung mga bata pa. Hindi. Kailangan namin maglakad hanggang airport, so 3 hours yun.
Who is missing?
Walang possible roads, dead people everywhere.
48 hours after the monster storm struck, Mactan Air Base in Cebu is awash in humanity. Those seeking to get out, and ironically, those seeking to get in, hoping to find loved ones still alive.
We've been here since last night, and we'll still be here until we get on that plane.
Their bodies pressed against the fence, they are frustrated by what they believe has been an anemic response to the devastation, demanding information and clinging to hope that perhaps loved ones have escaped injury.
There are a lot of people waiting here. How are you going to decide who gets to go first?
If we are lucky that they give us boarding pass so we can go, but if no boarding pass we cannot go yet. We need to wait until tomorrow again.
But as the sun sets, one thing is for certain. Small towns and villages remain cut off from the rest of the country, and some are gone forever, as people head in different directions, picking up the pieces of their lives. Dr. Nancy Snyderman, NBC News, Cebu, Philippines.
And as we said, it appears we've never seen a storm on this scale. To give you an idea of its power, consider this. Sustained winds reached 195 miles per hour, the gusts up to 235. The typhoon destroyed 70 to 80% of the structures in its path. And in the Philippines, 4.5 million people were affected by the storm, according to the country's National Disaster Agency. And across this country, great concern, along with hopes and prayers in the Filipino-American community and beyond. NBC's Mike Taibbi now with that part of the story.
Filipino Americans make up the second largest population of Asian immigrants in the U.S., and the historic disaster in the central Philippines has inspired a coast-to-coast response.
Everyone is helping each other now.
Prayers in community churches in New Jersey, an impromptu fundraising run in New York Central Park, and even more of the same in California, a 5K charity walk, and dozens of churches collecting food, clothing, shelter kits, and money for a stricken population that needs all of that. In fact, about 1 in 4 of the nearly 4 million Filipino Americans live in Southern California alone. And in growing communities like the LA suburb of Eagle Rock, the scale of this disaster is having a profound impact. Myrna Rodrigo lives here, but her husband, still working the family farm in the typhoon zone, barely survived.
Because of this typhoon, all his rice crops were ruined. The house was underwater.
Sympathy and support extend beyond the Filipino community. In Rome, Pope Francis led thousands of worshipers in silent prayer for those whose lives have been shattered in the largely Roman Catholic Philippines. And a Seattle-based medical rescue team made ready to deploy to a disaster scene carved by record winds gusting over 230 miles an hour.
I have no idea what we're going to find. There's no precedent for this.
And no relief for those whose concerns and fears are personal.
When I saw the news, I was shocked and I was crying because my children are all there.
The disaster still unfolding, the need for help incalculable. Mike Taibbi, NBC News, Eagle Rock, California.
Scare this weekend for those